let's take a look, see what's inside. Ordered 2 things from PCBWay. Ooh. That paint smell is pretty pungent. There we go. Okie dokes. Let's see. So I used a Pantone matcher and I took it to a place that had some Pantone swatches and we matched it. So this is slightly more pastel, but I think once it's on the body, you're barely going to notice it. So this is a matte as well. So I think once this gets a little bit of usage, it's going to go a little bit darker. I think we're close. We're pretty close. I just wish I could have gotten the Pantone from the factory, but that never worked out. Maybe for the next project. Although I think the next project is either going to be DMG color or black. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Because this is a series. I'm going to be doing another one where I'm going to make it slimmer. But I'm not going to change this one. I'm going to buy another one of these and mod that one because I have a feeling I'm going to prefer the thicker, chunkier one. So let's quickly talk you through this. This is quite a simple mod, and I'm going to do another video where I install Gamma Core, which is still a fairly beta project, but I want to put Android on here and see what that's like. So a guy by the name of Gamma Squeeze has developed an Android core that works on non-touchscreen devices, on the RK3566 devices, because there's so many of them now. And so I would like to try it out as a project. So that'll be in another video. But today, all we're going to do is reshell this RGB20SX, which is probably going to be my big holiday where me and my wife are going on a big holiday. And this is going to be the device that gets me through the airports. Maybe. I just got the AYN portal, you know, I'm just kind of enamored by that thing, so that might go on holiday with me. But anyway, this is an ideal thing for holidays, but I just don't like this whole trigger setup. It is top heavy to begin with, and so even though they've created this cradle, it's still kind of, it still kind of rocks that way. And I think without forcing you to naturally rest your fingers here, you're going to get a more natural grip on this thing. And I'm going to do a slimline project of this, but I do think this chunkier project is probably the way to go. Now, to talk you through these 3D prints, you can see here the color's quite a bit lighter, but it's matte paint. And I do think if I figure out a way to maybe wax it or something to make it less porous, I think it's going to go towards this color more and more as I use it. Anyway, this John Triger, he developed a slimline one, and he decided, you know, he doesn't want to use different batteries and all that kind of thing, and so he just developed his back shelf for the as it is. But what he's done is he's created these press buttons just for saves and all that kind of thing. So you still get, I don't know how well it's going to work, but you still get a press on the back buttons. But there's the one thing noticing now, there's a bit of a weak point here now on this. Like even holding it, it's weak there. So the only point of strength is here. That is a downside, but I'm not going to be using these buttons a lot. So it really is just there for save states and for if you do need the trigger buttons. But initially, I think he designed it without the trigger buttons whatsoever. And you could delete these lines. You could put this in a 3D editor and just delete these and never use the trigger buttons ever again. So this is the one. This is the one that I'm going to use probably. Now, obviously, we are trying to mimic the famous, you know, it really does mimic this nicely, the DMG. And so he's designed one, and I got this for sort of shits and giggles, but now that I'm looking at it, bit of a tight squeeze, but that's good. Let me put the 66 in one. It's quite weak here, and this needs quite a bit of force. And I think the paint has actually messed this whole design up. Okay, so in painting this, I've inadvertently ruined this. So I'm gonna sand it in a little bit and then I will let you know how that goes. It's not going in. Just for fun. Could be cool, or you know, definitely worth looking at this one as an option for this mod. So this was all made possible by PCBWay. They have sponsored today's video, and they are a custom PCB board, 3D printing, any sort of prototyping that you might think of with electronics, they are probably going to be able to do it. So hop on over to their websites. They do all sorts of 3D printing, CNC milling. They do custom PCBs, and for big projects, they do injection molding. There's a bunch of stuff there, and they have a shared projects page. The next project that I am going to do is on their page, so I'll share that in the link below. But please go check out PCBWay. Wonderful way to get started with an electronic project. Okay, so now I've got these Joe Blogs triggers on, and I should have done this. I don't know why I didn't. I should have done this with PCBWay because I did it locally and they just weren't printed very accurately. So I don't know, but just looking at this, he's done a really lovely job of designing this. I think these screws, these existing screws, are going to work just fine. I'm just leaning my head over. Okay, so there's a cable here. And the battery, true Powkiddy style, is glued on, I think. Love Powkiddy. I'm just prying it off slowly. Nice double-sided tape there. So we're done with this. It's a lot lighter, but like I say, I think with a little bit of use, it's actually going to match up eventually. I'm going to just unplug the battery quickly because I want to test run this and I don't want the battery to inadvertently stick and then I've put this on and it doesn't actually work. I really hope painting it hasn't like messed up my whole plan. See, once it's on, it's like a different shade of the same color. So it is kind of two-tone, not ideal, but this is like polished version of this. So I think if I use like some wax polish or something, I could actually get this to match up. So let's have a look now. Okay, so there's these little points here and here that are actually pushing up against the shell. So I have to just clip them off and then we should be able to close it up nicely. Okay, don't have clippers, so I'm just going to use these scissors to chop these off. Okay, I'm gonna try screw this on and see what happens because it's not fitting very well. And I think it's because I painted it. Okay, first screw in. Okay, I've kind of pre-tapped these screws through here because they were giving a bit of an issue. So let's try again. I didn't leave a tolerance for the paint. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of maneuvering here to actually make it work. I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. There, I'm bending it a little bit here and there to make it fit, and I'm just slowly tapping the screws in because I've got to like bend it there, just line it up. I'm like visibly lining up the screws and the hole. So I'm hoping with the dry fit that I'll push everything into place and kind of displace some of the paint. Problem now is I'm ending up with this. So I need to just open up and see why that's happening. That's what it is. These clips are pushing the buttons back. So let's get these clips off as well. That's almost definitely what the problem was. Okay, I've just made sure there's no hindrance whatsoever by those little clips on the edge here now. Okay, so let's have another look. So you just got to, there are the screws there, line up the screws, and then buttons. So there's only one way for this to fit. Okay, so I'm going to put the battery on now. I've just got to more to the top here because you've got these plugs that it's got to avoid. Just give it a squeeze. Now, painting it definitely caused a bit of an issue, but it's those clips, trimming those clips, that's actually the main thing here. Okay, so first screw. Right, so now just fastening the screws all the way. Doing it in stages. I'm still feeling resistance here with the buttons. So this body's kind of doing that a little bit. But let's just see once all the screws are in. So with a bit of force, you're getting a button press. And then my concern about this like weak point here is definitely valid because even though I've now put all the screws in, I do have a slight raise here. And I'll ask John how it has been for him. but there is a little bit of a bump there, and these buttons are sticking out ever so slightly. So if you are sort of OCD kind of a person, that is really going to bug you. But other than, like, apart from that, what we have here, so this over and above the other mod that I'm going to do, is the fact that it's chunkier. It's got this ribbing here, and it's a bit of low maintenance because you're not doing a complete reshell. You're just putting the back plate on. It is a little bit raised, but it's not like crazy. So if you're sort of person that's not going to bug you, then that should be fine. It might also be the fact that I've painted it, so I will also put pictures of John Tiger's installation. I'm noticing now that if I press here, I don't get a button depression, but if I press there, it does work. So I'm not sure what that's all about. This one's working almost perfectly. So it's like missing. If I press there, it kind of misses it. Very strange, but anyway. So there. All right. So that's it. So I think, if this appeals to you and you're looking at this thinking, I don't need buttons at the back, you can put this into a 3D editor and just delete these cuts, which is kind of maybe the solution for me. And then, like I said, this is quite a tight squeeze for your cartridge. I think if I hadn't painted it, it wouldn't have been, but you need a tight squeeze because you're going to put a cartridge there for funsies, and then it's going to sit in there. And at the end of the day, is what I really want is a Game Boy-esque experience. And this is giving me that experience. I mean, if I compare these two, this is obviously bigger and chunkier, heavier. It's so similar. Like, this is a DMG experience. Like, it's so good. Very nice, man. Wow. Obviously the paint job was a risk, and like I say, over time I think it's gonna kind of even out. But once this sort of becomes part of my life and I use it, I think the irregularities caused by the painting might bug me, but the painting also smooths it out and makes it look less like a 3D print. So there's pros and cons there. It's quite difficult to use the buttons, but now I can do my save states. So I'll mostly use these ones, L1 and R1, and these I won't use that much. And so again, I think I would, if I had to redo this, I would delete this, and I would just have R1 and L1, because that's all I use on these devices. I just use the save states. Overall, I think this is still a bit of a work in progress depending on what you want, but I'm kind of loving it. It's I mean, people are trying to streamline this, but it's already a streamlined DMG. So if from that mindset, if you are doing a DMG, this is kind of the perfect mod. But we'll do the other one and we'll compare notes.